Did somebody just join? Or is that just because we're broadcasting?
Woohoo! I'm
We
still
are
typing.
broadcasting.
All right. So far, our test run seems to be good.
Yes.
And I just posted in the community. Hopefully, I did that right. So if anyone Q&As us, that would be great. If not, hey, we're still ahead of the game. Except that we don't have Gerard. Gerard may
That's
join
right.
us.
Where is Gerard? Gerard! So this is our first ever question and answer podcast.
Practice run.
We're practicing some stuff so that we can run a little bit more smoothly on our other hangout.
We'll see if it proves true next week.
That's right.
For the real thing, for the real Lightroom Hangout.
Yes, next week at 11 a.m. Pacific. We're an hour later than usual, so 2 p.m. Eastern. We will be doing our monthly Lightroom Hangout. We'll be discussing local adjustments, how to finish your pictures, or finesse the finishing
Yep.
in the little areas instead of just the entire overall image.
And we'll have the special guest, Mr. Glenn Dewis, joining us from the
Lewis.
UK.
Yes.
And that's kind of why we're shifting a little bit later. He's a little bit later there, so we're trying to help out fit his schedule. And we're excited to have him join us. He's just a super talented guy and a super wonderful person. And I look forward to having that hangout with him. And you, of course.
Absolutely. I got to spend some time with him at Photoshop World. We went bowling together. That was a
Oh,
lot
yeah,
of
you did the. I wish I had done that. I was so busy.
You got it. It was fun.
I wind up always being so kind of busy at Photoshop World, and I'm working every day for Photoshop World, and I just don't have the time. The free time usually in the evenings when I have to catch up on help desk stuff or writing stuff or whatever the things I'm doing, and so I wind up missing a lot of those social events, and it's too bad because I always hear about them afterwards, and I like to bowl. I grew up in New Jersey, so you kind of have to bowl if you grew up in New Jersey. And so
It's just
was it?
required, is it?
Yeah, was it the real like 10-pin kind of bowling, or was it the little candlestick bowling?
Oh no, yeah, 10 pin. I don't know what
Like was it like a 16-pound ball with holes in it for your fingers, or was it the little bocce
Oh, yeah,
ball size?
yeah, big balls, holes in
Big balls. Okay, good.
Fred Flintstone style.
Good. Okay, yeah, that's real bowling. Well, living up here in New England, New Hampshire, they call candlepin bowling, and the pins are slightly smaller and shaped more like a candle, and you use a ball that this doesn't have holes in it. It's literally just a small ball,
Right.
and you just wing that sucker down.
Like on Rip Van Winkle.
Yeah.
You ever see that claymation movie of Rip Van Winkle?
God, I feel like I have, but it might have been like 40 years ago.
Yes, that's the one.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that is. You just dredge up a really like ancient childhood memory there.
We used to watch it on rainy days in PE in
Uh,
elementary school. Yeah.
yeah, that may be where. God, I'll have to think about that, where that came from. Should we do anything else to try and get Mr. Gerard back? Oh, video. He's trying to connect with me in the video call.
Oh, good. I'll send him another invite right now.
All right.
We got stale on him. It's fine. Gerard.
He's trying to send a hangout to both of us. It looks like.
Oh, right. Well, for some reason, there's 4 other Gerards who show up before the one who's in my circles. So I've just sent him another.
Okay.
And wonder if anyone will join us here, or if
I see someone on the G Plus page for this event did say they were going to watch. Adrian Crawley. So I don't know if Adrian is doing that, but hello, our one viewer. You are. Send us your question.
That's right. Let's see. Do we have any questions? So I've got I've got a. I don't know. Uh, I'd like to talk for a moment about some of the new cameras happening. So I wrote a post last week on the Panasonic GH4.
I saw that. It
Yeah,
was
and people
quite
really,
in depth.
yeah, people have loved it. They really enjoyed seeing still images from. Like everybody talks about video with
Huh.
that thing, and I don't know, video's boring. Let's make pictures. I'm trying to see if I can re-white balance for my
I was
face.
wondering if you're going to show me something there.
No, just trying to.
You're really into the white balance thing, huh?
Well, anyhow, so I
We'll
did.
fix you in post.
I did uh, the GH4 one, but I'm getting ready to do the new Pentax medium format.
Yeah, you
I'm
were
gonna
just
try and
drooling
pre-order
over that.
that on Lens Rentals and see
Ah,
if I
nice.
can try it out. Uh, Go in the absolute opposite direction and see how things go. Oh, we've got a question from Mr. Justy Walker.
Hey, cool. I just got an email from Gerard. So you try and field that question for a second. I will reply to Gerard.
Okay.
See if we
Other
can.
than the library and develop modules, which modules in LR do you feel have the most value and why? Note, I don't print at home. Well, that's okay, Jesse. I still think it's the print module that has the most value, and because I can do layouts and save them as a JPEG, and they still look really good even when I show them online. Or it allows me to do layouts of like a collage of multiple pictures at once. Um, and so I think that's I think that's a pretty valuable use. Um, I haven't found a lot of use yet for the maps, but we'll see. I'm trying to remember every time I make a picture of someplace to also take one with my iPhone so that I get the GPS coordinates out of it that I can then apply to all the other pictures from that shoot in the maps uh, module. What do you think, Rob? What's the other besides library and develop? What
Yeah,
else?
well, I think print probably does have the most practical value for most folks, even if you don't print at home, because you can save out as a JPEG from your layouts,
Right?
and then upload those JPEGs to any online provider that prints JPEGs, so which is everybody. So yeah, print module probably is the most practical and useful. It's not a true module, but I have to say export would probably be the next one up there just for sending out copies. Some people have advocated in the past and probably currently that export be its own module instead of just a big dialog box. Um, and I think there's a lot that could be said in favor of that because really the only point of getting stuff into Lightroom is be able to get it out again in better shape than it came in.
That's a good point. Have
So
you told that to Brian O'Neill Hughes?
well, I know it's been discussed in all the right people's ears, and I've in fielding questions about Lightroom. A lot of people don't even realize that you can scroll down on that export dialog and there's more options at the bottom. So, having it
Right.
be kind of a full screen type of display where you're able to maybe preview your output in a certain way, and whether it's beyond just watermarking or whatever. I think a lot could be said for that. So obviously export, but the web module and slideshow don't get a lot of love. They're certainly not the strongest parts of Lightroom, but what's nice about the web module that a lot of people write off and don't realize is you can actually get some pretty useful third-party plugins for a web module. So if you have really the desire to build a full site from within Lightroom and manage it. There's a guy, he does some amazingly useful web module plugins. The Turning Gate, and his name is Matt.
Cool.
Just super great guy. He's based out of Korea. He's in Seoul, I believe, and super nice guy, and has just really this is his full-time thing is creating these really rock solid web module plugins. So if If
Oh,
you
that's
don't
awesome.
do printing at home and you do web stuff, that's definitely check out the Turning Gate. I believe it's the turninggate.net. If you for his website, but definitely some cool stuff. I've tried out a bunch of those. So
That's cool.
thank
I
you.
just realized that I don't even have my web module enabled. I've got it completely disabled right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I don't use it at
you
all.
don't use it. Yeah, yeah, and you know, there's still things to be used in the web module if it fits your needs, but it's pretty basic, and most people probably have some other solution. Um, but check out the Turning Gate. Some really good stuff.
The turning
Where you
gate.
can the Turning Gate. We should do a hangout on that on web stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sure he would give us. I'm sure Matt would give us some plugins to give away as well.
Gerard is just asking if he can come in. I'm sending it again from. Okay, this. Can you invite anybody? Is that an option for you?
I don't think so. I
No.
looked to see if that was a possibility. Let's see, sharing, chatting, queuing, and I don't think in the toolbox. I don't have a little share up at the top, so.
Let's try inviting him again. All right. Oh, also, everybody, this is not only a Lightroom Q&A. This can be anything that's harder for me.
Everybody? You mean Jesse? I mean
Everybody,
everybody?
Jesse. Oh, and look, Melissa is in. Melissa's got a great question here, Rob. She says, "How do I save a personal preset in Lightroom?" That's a great question. Do you wanna hit that one?
A personal preset.
A
Is she
personal.
talking about develop,
Why don't,
import,
yeah, why don't you talk about
export?
an overall preset, and then let's talk about some individual ones as well.
It, do you want me to do the develop one? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Why don't you do it?
Um, so all a preset is, no matter where. Thank you, Melissa. No matter where you are in Lightroom, there's a couple opportunities to essentially save your settings in a text file that puts them one click away from you being able to apply them again. So you don't have to remember what combination of settings you might have used to get a certain effect. And there are ways that you can make one presets that are kind of like apply a whole bunch of settings, kind of a one-step finishing type of a preset. And then there are ways to create presets that maybe just target a certain panel or even just a certain singular setting. So, for example, I have a preset that enables lens corrections, and I have another preset that disables lens corrections. And the reason I set it up like that, because sometimes I need to toggle it off. Lens corrections in general are very resource intensive for Lightroom. Because Lightroom is kind of doing everything it does in the develop module on the fly. It's really trying to juggle a lot of balls in the air when you're moving all the sliders around to give you that live preview. And then when you throw lens corrections, it's doing a whole lot of math to bend that image in whatever ways are needed to correct it. And so then if it's doing that, and then you throw on like a spot correction, spot removal, now you can also then feel things really slow down
Right.
because it's trying to do a lot. So if you just disable lens corrections, do your spot removals, and then re-enable it, and you're right back to where you were. So to save a preset, you just dial in your settings, whatever you want to save in the preset, and then you go over to the preset panel.
Hey, why don't we do a screen share?
Hey, why did I do that? Hey, we have that technology, don't we? I've just
We
been
have the
so busy
technology.
chatting. I've just been so busy chatting with you. I just feel like I'm talking to you. But I guess we got Melissa out there too. All right, so let me go over to Lightroom and see what I've got over there.
Excellent.
You see my screen?
Um, Not yet. Yes, you got your screen.
All right. Hey, and this was something I just was doing yesterday. I took my son to this waterfall up the road from us, and they're called river herring. There's actually two types of fish. They just kind of lump them together as river herring, and they are spawning right now. So they can't make it over this particular waterfall. So
Oh, wow.
they're all kind of just pooled up there. And my son, who's in the back there with a big net, was just catching them and then releasing them again right there. It was just kind of fun to be able to scoop up a net full of fish
That is cool.
and then let them all go again. So of course I had to take a picture of that and jump into it. Um, And of course, he then fell into it and came home soaking wet. But that's just how you do when you're 12 years old.
That's
Um, so I have some presets over here, and this is the preset panel. One of the things that I do when I create presets for certain tasks is I number them, because within the preset panel, things are sort alphanumerically. And so if you don't use a number, they just sort alphabetically. And that's why you can see how these are all like this. So if I want mine to be at the top where they're more accessible, because if I have the navigator panel open, it pushes this down a bit. I number them, and that way those pop up to the top. And so here I have one for auto tone, and the only thing in there is just enables the auto tone inside the basic panel. And so if I wanted to say apply, I talked about lens correction. If I wanted to enable lens corrections, all right, I just check that box to turn it on, and then I click on this plus symbol here. I'll click check none so that I can choose which ones I want to include. Process version is important so that you include that when it's important to not go back to a different process version inadvertently.
Sorry, we got Gerard, Rob.
Hey, Gerard, I'm not looking, so I'm glad that you're here. I didn't realize you came in, but sorry, that was one thing I guess we didn't work out very well, getting Gerard invited.
I don't know why we have. I always have such trouble getting onto a Hangout.
All right. Well, that's why we're having this practice session.
There we go.
Yeah, it seems to be getting better. I feel like there's always something different or something I've forgotten each time, and so that's why I was talking to Levi about let's give this a try and see if we can't work out. And we have worked out some things. We just need to make sure that we've got you involved sooner next time. So I think that will be fine.
Yeah, we're glad you're here.
And so Melissa,
Rob's just showing us how to preset.
We planted Melissa in the audience, so we had someone in the audience that asked a question. So I am diligently answering it. And so I am just making a preset that turns on and off lens profile correction. So I come over here to the lens correction section here, and I check just that box, and I would call this enable lens corrections. And then I could choose what folder I want that preset to live in, and so I have a bunch of these here. I already have this preset, so I won't save it, but I might choose which one I want to add it to. And then once it's ready, I just click create, and it gets added to that folder. The default is user presets. If you don't give it a folder, that's where it's going to go.
Yeah, it's handy that you can save them to a folder, and then you can also move them between folders just by clicking and dragging.
Yeah, just drag and drop. And so here's my enable lens correction that's already there, and if I want to disable it, just click on that, and it turns it off.
That's a great preset.
And that's the only thing that's in there, and it just...
Although I learned from Rob that does slow down brush adjustments.
That's why we're doing it as a preset, so that we can turn it on and off with a single click without searching through the stack over there.
Yeah. So thanks for planting that good response, Gerard, too.
Thanks.
We brought you in.
That's good. Well, let me show you how to do a preset for a brush. Like.
I must have missed this. So we're just doing a general Lightroom Q&A? Is that the idea?
Well, we're doing a general Q&A, and so far our 2 questions have been Lightroom based, and so we're just rolling with it. But you never know. With this audience that we have, we could get who knows what could happen for questions.
Okay.
That's right.
Like Rob, how did you get so devilishly good looking? Type of
I can't reveal beauty secrets. Like way more vital than Lightroom.
All right, here we go. I'm switching to Lightroom here. Let's see. So if I want to create a brush preset, let's find a picture.
Holy desktop there, Levi.
What's that?
Your desktop, like, just stressed me out looking at it. I'm sorry.
Don't look.
Said shivers.
You should see my analog desktop right now. I think I can see some of my desktop right here somewhere. There might be a blank spot I could write a note on or something. It gets cleaned up every now and then. But it's just another folder for me, I guess. Right now you're seeing my Lightroom, though, right?
Yes.
Oh, good. It's good.
Not your analog desktop.
A
Thank God.
very nice portrait.
Let's see here. What have we got? What am I plugged in? I don't have anything plugged in.
Let's see.
Pen tab.
Wow.
Okay, here's a picture. That's
Where are you?
Okay, so
Downtown Nashville, Rob.
Oh,
This is
sorry,
new
Levi. He was showing me out his window. He's actually in New Hampshire for a change.
he is.
I know, exactly. See, this is our new office. You have to come and hang out with us.
I'd love to.
You have a beautiful view of a roof.
Do you have bags of Twizzlers still laying around?
We stopped at Twizzlers because we're getting fat. We do have homemade banana bread today.
Okay.
Oh, there it is. There.
Don't save a piece for me. I'll wait for a fresh batch.
Okay. Whoa!
So here's the thing we'll do. Why is this going slowly? Here we go. We've got this picture. We've got Alan with a little bit of a color cast to his teeth. So if I come in here with the adjustment brush, I can paint, and if I press A, it toggles on and off the auto mask, which I love for teeth because it only paints the things that are the same color and tone as the center of the brush. So whatever the plus sign is on is the same thing that's going to be painted. So even though my brush is overhanging his lips right now, it's not painting on his lips until it gets over here into the shadows, and then it gets kind of muddy and it can't tell the difference. But for the most part, that auto mask is pretty sweet. So I've selected his teeth. I'm going to use the Alt key to deselect his lips here. There we go. So his teeth are all selected. O for overlay to turn off that red. There's already a tooth thing in here. What's it called? It's called teeth white.
Which is like, I
And
always
holy cow! Now he's got glow-in-the-dark teeth.
Wow.
Joe Biden teeth. Joe Biden teeth. Bam!
Yes, and it is clearly over the top. So I've created my own preset I call Real Teeth.
Hey.
And now they're white, but they're not like glowing in the dark.
Yeah.
And so for that, all I've done is a little bit of exposure bump and a little bit of saturation down. And sometimes I'll even turn off the exposure because it's just not that nice. Like that looks better.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of saturation down.
That does it.
But so all you do is you set your settings, and then you click on that right here where it says Effect, and there's a drop-down menu. You click there, and then Save Current Settings as New Preset. And then you just name it, and it saves whatever you've set in your adjustments right here. And
What do you guys
all,
do for eyes? Do you use sharpening or clarity or both for eyes? And do you do anything with the white part of the eyes?
Yeah, I do a little bit of both of those.
Okay, just asking.
Since I've got it up here, come on, Scoot. Oh, man. Mine is behaving slowly today. Maybe I've got lens corrections turned on.
If only you had a preset.
I do. Enable lens profile corrections. We'll turn that off, and maybe that'll help.
Rob, I'm bouncing all over the place. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's all right.
Too much coffee and banana bread today. Do you expect most of the questions to be at presets, or do you have a sense of where the questions are going to come from, or are they just going to be like whatever they're going to be?
You mean next week?
Yeah.
It'll be for local. Our topic on local adjustments. So we'll be
so that
covering.
is our topic. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll be covering. I'm going to send out an outline today of stuff.
Okay. Sorry, I thought it was a general QA topic. I thought it was just
that was this one.
That's right now.
So this was really so that Levi and I can work out some workflow stuff to make the Hangout work.
Okay.
Since we were doing it, Levi said, "Hey, let's just do a general Q&A as well." So we're kind of still being useful to the world, and so that's why we are all here.
We need to be useful to the world.
So are we recording this, or am I just?
We are.
This is recorded, Gerard. We are
recording.
broadcasting live right now. Your nose.
So me being an ass is like going to be out for That's great. That's fine. We'll stop showing banana bread and not the windows then.
That's right. I'm sure our people watching are enjoying it.
This is unplugged. But since you asked about eyeballs, here we go. Oh, did I switch back to me? Did I switch back to me? There we go. Where's? There we go. Right here. There it is. And print. Gee. I've been sweating. How to get to the slide?
This is quite a process you have for fixing eyes.
That's right. First, you have to go to the slideshow.
When I do eyes in Lightroom, my daughter inevitably will walk in, and I have like this ginormous monitor, and she'll see like somebody's eyes glowing red, and she'll be like, "Daddy, make their eyes red." Like, yeah, this looks freaky.
That's great. So here I've painted on his eyeballs, and then I've used the built-in iris enhance. And in this case, it's not bad, but it's usually a little, like, way too much.
Yeah.
So I've done one called Real Iris, where there's a little bit of clarity, a little bit of saturation, a little bit of exposure, a little bit of sharpness. And all these things are adjustable, but this generally works pretty well for me.
Do you ever mess with white balance here? Make someone's eyes a little bit bluer, a little bit browner?
Oh, that's interesting. No, I've never tried that.
I've had mixed luck. That's why depends on the eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if blue is the right idea for Alan.
For him. No, not for him. No.
Now, besides that, we could also use the color swatch down here. And,
You could.
And add an enhancing color. And this is interesting because it's kind of a color wash. It's really subtle. And then...
Yeah, that might be a better choice than what I've usually done, which is a little bit of white balance adjustment depending on what color their eyes are.
Well, and it depends on the saturation. Using the color swatch is also dependent on the saturation slider in here. And so, interesting. No, I never thought of adding color with the white balance. That's a good idea.
One cool thing about any presets you make for the adjustment brush, because it's one of the local adjustments, that also will be available to your radial filter and your graduated filter.
Yes, which I think is pretty sweet.
Ooh, Jesse's asking a question. How do you disable a Lightroom module? Looks like Levi, you disabled that. Yes, you can. You can disable any of the modules you'd like.
Yeah, that's pretty easy. Tell us how to do it, Gerard.
I think you go into tell us, Rob. It's in the preferences section.
You don't even have to do that. It's easy.
It's so easy. It's so easy. People do it accidentally.
So easy. I gotta remember how to do it.
People do it and don't realize they did it.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, so you just right-click up here in the bar,
right,
and then uncheck any of these modules. So if you never make books, get rid of books. If you never use map, get rid of map. And while we're up there, sheesh, let's go over here and adjust our identity plate as well. So Lightroom Mobile, I want Lightroom. No, I want personalized. Oh, now there's new options since they updated with Lightroom Mobile.
There is. Yes, there is.
I didn't realize that. Yeah, so you can just go in here and type in anything you want.
It doesn't make Lightroom any faster, Jesse, the other part of your question. It just clears away clutter in the top there. It just removes the link to it.
But as Rob said, I get questions all the time of, where did it go? It disappeared. Help me get it back.
The most common thing people lose lately that I hear about is the basic panel.
Yeah.
There
Oh.
must be some really easy way to do that, to lose it. But
Really?
Yeah. Well, if you right-click on any of those panel headers,
That's true. Yeah.
you can just uncheck it. So I think people must be fat-fingering a right-click or a control-click or something, and before they realize it, they've dismissed the panel.
Yeah.
And
especially because basic is right at the top and it comes right up under the mouse.
Yeah, and so that happens the most commonly, in my experience.
I think I just wrote a blog about that too, like a couple weeks ago, Rob.
Yeah.
Did you?
I think so. You go to mosaicarchive.blog. You can see all sorts of information about it.
Perfect.
It's a great idea. Good resource.
Hey Gerard, here's a little of what I do for whites, for eyeball whites. These are my settings. I
Bleach.
Saturation.
Bad laundry joke. Sorry.
and I up the highlights just a tiny bit. But if they're veiny eyes, if the eyes have red veins in them, then the shadow slider is pretty good at helping to remove that.
Wow, I never thought about using the shadow slider. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, because they're darkish. So.
I've removed saturation to try to get some of the color out, which did a good job of getting the veins out, but the shadows might work better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another thing, speaking of lost things, and also on the topic of presets, sometimes people lose presets, and if you need to bring your presets back, what you can do is go over to if you're on Mac, Lightroom Preferences, on Windows, Edit Preferences. Should I show it?
Yes, please.
I was still watching, now watching myself telling you about it, so I should probably.
Well, and while we're talking about presets too, head over to mosaicarchive.com/ Where do we get presets, Rob or Gerard?
I think it's / Lightroom presets too. So yeah. You would think I would know this stuff. If you go over to our blog again /blog, we have a number of presets up, and we will have another preset up very soon. So go to mosaicarchive.com/blog, and then the third article down is a new Lightroom preset for retro and vintage looks.
Yeah, awesome.
Cool.
Now, did my black and white one ever get published in there?
It did. That was last. No, you gave a spring one.
I gave the spring one, but before that, I gave Steve a black and white one.
Did you give Steve?
It
You got published.
That weasel.
What? You gave it to us to publish. We published it, man.
All right.
I'll have to find it because I couldn't find it in the list the other day. But yes, there's some terrific presets over there on Mosaic Archive.
Yeah, we have ones from Nicole Young. We have ones from Rich Harrington. We have ones. I don't think we have one from you, Rob, do we?
No, I need to do one. I'd like to do one.
And without giving away too much, I think we have one coming in the next week. So.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Oh, we have a new question. What are your favorite collections in smart collections? Oh, I love smart collections. I think I am totally in the minority about this, but I am such a dork for smart collections. Like, I go crazy for these things because I am a metadata loser.
I find that easy to believe.
It's tough, I know, Rob. Metadata geek should be like my Twitter handle or something. But I tend to use stars a lot. So I tend to use stars and then create a collection based on 2 stars or better. And so if I go to like a shoot and I name everything, say Sophie's First Communion, which was last weekend, and then I'll say I'll keyword that on import, and then I'll say something like anything 2-star or better from Sophie's First Communion are photos that I want to then share with everybody. And so that's what I will. That's how I use smart collections a lot to help me automatically do that, because I honestly can't remember what I've put into a manual collection, and so then I get all confused about what I've put into what and all that good stuff.
Levi, you really warmed up in there.
I really did. Boy. Filter on my lens here. Holy cow.
Now you
just want to show off the teeth whitening. Well, that's a good use, Gerard. Rob, what do you do with collections?
For smart collections, one of my favorite things is I made a set of smart collections that I refer to as like my dashboard, and I have a bunch on file types, so I can very quickly see how many TIFF files I have, or how many RAW files I have, or how many 32-bit TIFF files I have, how many have smart previews, things like that. So it just gives me a really quick way either to at a glance see what I've got, or to drill right down to it, or occasionally to go in and clean out. Like sometimes I'll do some HDR that just don't work, but I still have all these 32-bit TIFF files laying around, so it gives me a chance to go in there and clean up and
that never happens to me, Rob.
Yeah, recover some hard drive space. So that's one of my favorite ways to use smart collections, which is just a saved search, and The other thing I do with collections, when I'm making just regular collections, if you right-click on a regular collection, you can set that collection as the target collection, and then you
Yes,
can
that's
use
awesome.
the B key to add photos into it. So if oftentimes I'll be making a collection for a book or a project, and I'll create my collection structure and then just set that one as the target. And as I'm going through other folders or collections, I'm adding photos to that target collection just by pressing the B key, and that really speeds that process up.
Yeah. And so if you're not familiar with collections too, this is really, really cool because collections aren't creating another file on your hard drive. They are just referencing where that file is. And so your picture can be in 10 or 15 different collections, but there's still only one file on your hard drive, so you haven't increased your file usage in any way. And it's pretty slick.
Yeah.
I use it all the time. Like, let me show you what I'm doing with mine. See if I can share my screen without sharing my desktop to scare Rob at all, or Gerard. um, there's I've got my landscapes. If somebody wants to see my favorite landscape pictures, I come over here into my collections and I just click on my landscapes, and here's a ton of them. And sometimes I'm going through here, and I'm like, oh, I totally forgot I even photographed that. Oh, there was another one from that set, and I can just right-click and say go to folder in library, then zip right back over there and add another one to this collection as well. So I do that for my landscapes. I do it for my favorite portraits. I do it for like automotive pictures, any of these things, and I think it's a cool tool. So.
Yeah, I think smart collection is a good way to think about it as a saved search. So anything that you search for more than once or going to think about searching for more than once, I'm typically going to make a smart collection for.
Yeah.
Good call. Yeah. Well, good. So I hope that helps answer Mikey's questions there. And by the way, Mikey is one of our contributors. He spells his name with like 16 syllables or vowels on photo focus. But it's Mikey. It's easy. It's just Mikey. So thanks, Mikey. We really appreciate you asking us a question. Anybody have any? Like I was just looking at the landscapes collection here so that I could see if I had any pictures to share a cool technique about. Here's one. Oh, let me show you this picture. Since it's not just a Lightroom, here's a random question. All right, Courtney saved us. Courtney says, this is a random question. I've started working with video files a lot recently, and I'm using LR for file management, keywording, etc., and basic color corrections on the videos. Is there a way to round-trip videos to Premiere Pro?
That's an easy one. No.
I was like, if you know a run, Rob, that would be sweet.
Yeah. No, unfortunately, it's cool what Lightroom can do with video, but it's very limited in terms of what it can do, and it's not really set up for that same kind of connection that photos enjoy to Photoshop. We don't have that with video for Premiere.
Don't tell us that we need to use Bridge in this case, Rob.
Yeah, well, you need to use something else, and then also remember that any edits you do in Lightroom are only applied to photo or video, in this case, that you export.
Right. You guys check the little video button in the export dialog too.
Yeah, so you can export video, but then your export options are maybe potentially limiting from what your video project might be as well. So you might prefer to work with your raw video outside of Lightroom if you need a different file format than what Lightroom can export. So it's a good question. It's not a random question, and Lightroom is they had to add video because you can't find really a digital camera anymore that doesn't have a video option. So people had, in the beginning, people had video on their cards, and Lightroom was ignoring it. It wasn't even importing it. Then it was importing it, but you couldn't see it, and now it's importing it, and you can see it most of the time. And then you can do some cool edits to a certain extent. Lightroom has limits to what it can do with video, but what it can do is, it's really cool for maybe casual video editing, trimming beginnings and endings off. But for a bigger video project, a series of video assets and so on, you're probably better off just sticking to Premiere or whatever your video editing tool might be to manage all those assets. And
if it was me, I suspect I'd probably pop it over to Photoshop and then back and forth there. Can't I go from Photoshop?
I mean, what I usually do is right-click and find it in Finder, and then go into whatever I'm going to use.
Yeah, you could do it that way too.
Yeah.
And Photoshop itself can certainly do a lot more of editing a video than it used to be able to do, and that probably will grow. But if you're using Premiere, or Premiere Pro, I'm really guessing you're a hardcore video person, and those tools may not be what you need. So it's good. Lightroom, it's good that it takes it off the camera card for you, but beyond that, you might want to look at other ways to manage your video. Rich probably has some good insight into this. He's much more of a video guy than I am, but that's my take on it.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob.
Sure. Thanks, Courtney.
Thanks, Courtney. Appreciate it. Courtney won our drawing last time. I think we'll be doing drawings again next week. And
yeah, I think that people watching would have really good odds if we had a drawing this week. We're half the audience, just the three of us, so we're looking pretty good.
That's right. I wonder how many people we actually have watching.
Well, looking on the page, it says 7, and
nice.
that includes you, Levi, twice.
And Melissa.
And myself.
Oh, that's good.
So I don't know if that's how accurate that is.
That's good. Well, then let me share my screen after all, and let me show you something else. I was in San Diego last. Can you see my screen?
No.
No, I forgot to hit the button.
I see you. Not looking nearly as yellow as you were before.
Right. I was in San Diego the other day with a friend.
Lovely.
And he took me all around and we made a bunch of pictures, and we caught this at sunset. It was the coolest. I've never had the sun reflecting off a building, reflecting off the water like this before. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And this image was shot at 10 millimeters on a 800. Or no, oh sorry, it was my 7100. Never mind. But 10 millimeters on a 7100, pretty wide angle lens, kind of fun to use. The key, I think, to using a really wide angle lens in your landscape work is that you need something in the foreground. So these were like the beach here is like 10 feet away from me, which normally is the foreground. But here it's really the middle ground. It's so far away that anything down there is tiny, and so I had to bring the camera right down, sitting on a rock. And these rocks are just inches from the lens, and but something in the foreground really helps to give us something to feel in a picture.
I was giggling at the questions that just came in, not at your.
I like that. I also like your new nameplate too, Levi, which I didn't notice last time.
What's that say?
Rob and Gerard are awesome.
Yeah.
That's because I changed.
Showing how to update the identity plate.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
It's really
Did you
just.
guys used to do that? Like I used to go over to friends' houses and change their screensavers back in the Windows world, and then they didn't know how to change it back.
Yeah.
That was like my dorky thing to do in college. Never mind.
Levi has that as a tattoo as well.
I do. It's actually right over here. Yeah.
Jesse wants to know if we can have a drawing this week. I think the answer is no.
We have a whiteboard right here. Hold on, I can do a drawing.
Yeah. But hey, a drawing, lovely, excellent.
No, so
Mikey wants to know if you can ever look as good as Levi.
Yeah.
That's a no.
No.
Brian's asking the real Q&A. Well, this is a real Q&A. I mean, this is you're definitely getting questions and you're getting answers that are real. But our official hangout, our official Lightroom hangout is next week at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, and that's like 6 p.m. London time.
Because
Lynn
Dewis is joining us from the UK.
And yeah. So that
super good dude. We'll answer all sorts of questions about.
Yeah, and we'll have a lot more demos, and we'll be a little less punchy, possibly, and less goofy.
I'll know we're recording it. That's good too.
Yeah. But yeah, no, we welcome any questions then as well. This was just really kind of opening it up and working on our process here a bit. So we appreciate the masses that tuned in.
One of the ideas for me, Rob, is that Scout Bourne used to do Q&A answers every time on the Photo Focus podcast.
Yeah.
Although I think he felt like he'd answered all the questions. And I think if you listen back to his broadcasts, he has answered almost all the questions. But I thought we might try doing it occasionally again now, because people listening now maybe haven't had all the questions answered.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. I mean, I answer lots of Lightroom questions. I always enjoy that, and happy.
I have a question for you guys. So, a buddy of mine is about to have a baby. He's about to become a dad, and he's not into photography at all. But he wants to be into photography because he sees all these cool pictures of other people who are into photography taking pictures of their kids. He asked me what camera I would recommend for him.
Yeah.
Always stumped at that. Like, where do you start? So
I've got an easy answer now. Yeah.
Does he have a phone?
He does have an iPhone, so
there's the easy one right there.
Right. But do you like the new mirrorless stuff? Have you played around with it, Levi?
That's my new answer. Yeah, that's my answer. If somebody asks what camera they should get, I'm telling them a Micro Four Thirds, probably a GX7. I think it's awesome. It's got a
I didn't recommend a Micro Four Thirds, although I haven't played with it enough, but I've seen enough awesome photos of it to say that it's good. I recommended the Sony Nex.
Yes. Well, so my complaint with the Sony NEX system is that you can only use Sony lenses. With the Micro Four Thirds, proper Micro Four Thirds, you can use any Micro Four Thirds lens. So you can use Olympus lenses, Sigma lenses, Leica lenses, really nice Leica lenses. What's that? The Voigtlander? Is it Voigtlander? No, there's some really fancy pants glass, like 0.76 apertures on these things, and these things all fit on the mic. In fact, there are adapters, so you can use any lens ever made on Micro Four Thirds cameras. But they're so light, they're so inexpensive, and the pictures are so good. And the best thing is that it's WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get when you're looking through that viewfinder. And for a beginning photographer, I think that is a huge advantage.
Yeah, I'll throw a slightly different answer out there too. And aside from whatever you have with you, your phone most likely.
Right.
What I like, having a kid now who's 12. One of the cameras we got years ago that's just been so awesome. It's a little Canon point and shoot, one of those tough ones that can go underwater and handle dust and all that. Because that thing is just a bomb-proof little beast, and we've taken that on every vacation. Take it in the ocean, under the water, in the pool. It can be thrown in a bag, and you don't worry about it. There's no lenses to change. It does video. I know Nikon has them, and Panasonic has them.
I have a Nikon one that I take hiking with me all the time, and that's like throw in the back of my hiking bag and go hike a mountain with.
Yeah, and so they're small, they're easy, and they are most likely JPEG only, so you don't have to deal. For someone maybe who just wants it for that purpose.
Right.
But they still got a good zoom, a good optical zoom, so you can still get bokeh in the back. And
yeah, I love that little Canon. We've had it for probably like 5 years now, and still only comes out when we go on vacation because it usually just sits in some beach bag or something, and then we go, oh yeah, we still have this little thing. So one of those are really really handy.
Actually,
Jesse, camera advice and not parenting advice, which was probably a smart move.
Our friend Jesse Walker here, who's been asking questions for years, he used just a small point and shoot and made some of the most stunning images out there. You know, especially the macro work with them. They have really terrific macro lenses.
Yeah, you can usually get really close to those. Yeah, I mean, mostly with kids, you want something that's within arm's reach at all times, and has as little delay on pressing the shutter. That was always a frustrating thing about most point and shoots is you press the shutter and then the moment is gone before it actually happens. So they've gotten better in that regard.
Yeah, he did ask me if he needs to get a tripod for taking photos of his kid, and I was like, well.
Only if it's sleeping.
Not very much longer.
I do use a tripod for family shoots all the time, but it's a whole other technique. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think for the beginner.
I mean, earlier I had that image of my son and I at the waterfall. You know, I had the camera on a tripod. That way, it wasn't in the water or near the water. It was somewhat precariously perched, but it was on a tripod. And then I actually just set it up. Nikon has a nice intervalometer built in, so you can set up the camera to take a frame every interval of time for however many shots. So I just set that up to take a shot every 3 seconds and to take 100 plus shots. And that way I just set it up, and he was pretty much confined to that one waterfall area. And I was able to walk into the frame and be part of it, and to just let him do his thing, and so I got a whole bunch of shots of him doing that was enabled by having a tripod. So certainly a tripod is really useful in lots of ways, but if he's just looking to justify to his wife why he should go buy a bunch of stuff, that's a whole different conversation.
That's right. We've got statistics and brochures.
If he needs backup on that, I can help him. You know,
yeah, there's the cheap practical like we're talking about, and then there's I just got to play with the Fuji XT1, and that's a really sweet camera, and we could probably justify the outlay for that. But
when he started asking me about ND filters, I was like, okay, never mind.
He's really been looking then, yeah. That's good. Well, hey, we've got 2 questions in here. Can I ever look from Mikey? Can I ever look as good as the guy in a hat?
No, never. No. No.
Mikey could pull off just about anything.
Maybe he could pull off. There's certain people who can pull off the hat. Levi obviously is one of them.
Yeah, you just have to own it. That's all.
Yeah. You do, but there's certainly there's more to it than that. It's just the right hat for your face and your head and all that. And I can maybe sometimes pull off a baseball hat, but that's about really that's really about it. I could not pull off Levi's hat.
I want to wear a hat. I want to be a hat guy. I just can't do it. I want to, if I could rock a hat like Levi, I would do it. But I have an awkward head. It just looks weird.
Yeah.
Well, good.
No, the answer is no.
Yeah, that's more than enough. So here's the other question, and I'm going to pass this one straight to Rob, I think. How does one use custom loop overlays?
Oh, so this is a new feature in Lightroom 5. In the loop mode, I guess I can go over there.
Yeah, and I'm going to follow along.
Do that. All right, are you seeing my screen?
Not yet.
All right.
Yes.
We got you.
All right. So inside of in Loop View in the library module, what used to be, as far as overlays go, if I press the R key and go to crop, we had this overlay kind of thing. So in Lightroom 5, we had an overlay, some overlays added, and even a guide. And down under the View menu, we have the Loop Overlay menu, and we have guides and grid. And then what we had before, we had the ability to do a layout image. That would be, I've used the layout image one in the past for coming up with book covers. You can use it for magazine layouts or any kind of layout where you have some elements, maybe text or graphic, that are always going to be in place, and you can save a transparent PNG file. I don't think I have one handy right show you, but you can lay out this transparent PNG over your image and kind of see how it's going to look. And you can maybe have so what I would do, like for, say, a cover, a book cover, I'd have the hard elements that are on the cover no matter what and then a transparent area for the rest, and I can just lay that over, say, this image and see how this might look as a book cover and go through a bunch. So that's really handy.
Yeah, Scott Kilby, in his tour right now, Scott Kilby shows that using it to describe how your picture might look on a magazine cover.
From it's anything like a magazine cover. Maybe like if you shoot kids sports, and maybe you do like baseball cards or some other kind of layout where there's some elements that maybe the team's name or their logo or whatever is a part of the image, and you want to see how the kids will look underneath that. It could be really handy if you're shooting tethered, and maybe you're doing a product shot. It's going to go into this kind of layout. So it's a really cool feature that probably doesn't get used as much as it could. Then what's new is having the ability to have guides, and as I pull my cursor over there, it showed I can press the command or control key, and I can move those around. So maybe if I was, again, shooting a layout and I needed to have the key element always be in this spot, I could use the guides. I could use the guides to check for my verticals and my horizontals.
Interesting. And this only shows up in the loop view, is that right?
Loop view of the library module, yep.
Which is
and then the other one is the grid, and you can have the grid and the guide at the same time. And the grid's really handy as well for maybe checking your verticals or horizontals, checking your layout. And you can also resize it. I'm holding down the command key here, and this little overlay comes up at the top. And so if I hold the command key and then just use my mouse, I can resize that grid. And then I can change the opacity as well. So if I need to make it really show up strong or to really fade it out so it's not really there.
Oh, that'd be handy for screen captures in some instances, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it can be useful for checking just placement of things, consistency of placement of things. And you can have all of those actually happening all at once, or you can just turn them off. And if I go back there are some, there's the keyboard shortcut here for cycling through those as well. So hope that answered your question. But it's a cool little feature that if you need it, you're like so psyched for it, but a lot of people just don't even realize that it's in there. And maybe they don't really need it, but
yeah, cool. Is that the right answer, Mikey? I hope so. That was pretty cool stuff. I've never explored that before. Now there's also the information overlays, right? Like we could change in. I had to show my screen real quick. So in here, if you press I, you can show when you're in the library module. You can turn on and off information about the picture up here, and so it says the name of the picture, it says the date and the size of the picture. Or if I hit it again, it'll show me the exposure settings. We can alter that, right? Where do we change that, Rob?
View, and then go to View Options.
Yeah.
And then you could do that in the Develop module as well. Right,
and so you can change all the information that comes up here. There's a whole lot of selections. A whole lot of stuff. I never use this. I get annoyed when I see it turned on, but maybe I'll try and utilize it.
I find it useful if you have multiple bodies and you want to make sure you've got the shot from a certain camera, or maybe you want to make sure you've got the RAW file instead of the JPEG if you're shooting RAW from JPEG. I find it useful like when you're cropping. There's one of the pieces of data you can have is your cropped pixel dimensions. And so as you're cropping, it'll update and show you the new pixel dimensions, so you're not going to be going too small.
I use it for bracketed to make sure I have the right brackets to select or export.
Interesting. Okay. Good ideas.
Looks like Brian has another question for us.
Oh, good. All right, Brian. Thank you, Brian.
I've never used.
Oh, go ahead. Please, reader.
I'm the reader. I've never used Lightroom before, but have lots of experience with Photoshop. What should I read, or where should I go for good tutorials? Well, I can give a couple answers. If you go to photofocus.com and there's a Lightroom Learning Center, and it has a whole bunch of short articles and videos where you can get very bite-sized information about Lightroom. So I definitely check that out. The other great resource is a great book by Mr. Rob Sylvan about Lightroom 5 that we keep around the office. It's usually within arm's reach, but it's not right now. But I would recommend that one as well.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, there's so many good things out there. If you like to travel, you could go to Las Vegas this September for Photoshop World. There's a whole Lightroom track.
Yes.
To learning about Lightroom. If you like to do it in person.
We'll be there for that, right, Rob? You going?
I plan on it, yeah.
Gerard, you going to be there?
I will most likely be there.
All right.
That's a lot of fun. Anything by Julianne Cost is excellent. If you just do a Google for her, she's an Adobe evangelist and just one of my Lightroom heroes. She's just brilliant. Anything by George Jardine, who was a former Lightroom evangelist, just a super photographer, great guy, and he really just does some of the best training stuff out there.
Yeah, the Adobe TV section where Julianne does her stuff is usually pretty awesome.
Yeah, there's so much good stuff. I'm sorry, Levi. I was talking. I didn't hear you.
Yeah, sorry. Is that AdobeTV.com?
I think it's like Adobe.tv.com, but I'm making it up right now.
Yeah.
I could Google it. I mean, one thing too, Brian, that I'll just add in there is that Lightroom, there's a lot less to mess up in Lightroom. And it's non-destructive, truly, and so you can always get back with a reset button in the lower right. So I find it less intimidating, and I think a lot of people, once they get into it, find it less intimidating to learn. A lot of the stuff you've learned with Photoshop will still be applicable, and so once you figure out where to click, you'll be happy. So I'm a type of learner that I do read the tutorials and blogs, but I also like to get in there and play. So
one other thing I'll throw out there, if you're a Kelby One subscriber, there's a ton of resources for you. There's a ton of resources, video classes on Kelby One that are all about Lightroom, basic and advanced, and cover every module that Matt Kluskowski has done. Scott has done a bunch. Other photographers have contributed some Lightroom content as well. One of the other benefits of Kelby One is the Lightroom Help Desk, which is me. So you have me at your beck and call to answer any email that you send me on Lightroom-related questions. And I've worked with a lot of people making that transition from Photoshop. What goes unsaid in your question, if you're using Photoshop, then you're also using Bridge. So Photoshop, Bridge, Camera Raw, people making that transition to Lightroom, it's a well-worn path, and I'd be happy to help you with that. And I teach a class on a site called Perfect Picture School of Photography, ppsop.com, and that starts up the first Friday of every month. So first Friday in June, I have a new class starting up there, and you get a copy of my book, you get videos, you get all the kinds of unlimited Q&A. So there's just so many resources out there. I could do a whole show just on other Lightroom resources.
I'll give you one more too, Brian. If you go to mosaicarchive.com, go to our blog and sign up for our weekly newsletter of Lightroom tips.
Yeah, that's really handy.
We go out on the web, on the inner tubes, and we find the 10 best Lightroom tutorials or Lightroom-related articles of the week, and we give them out to everybody. So and I think Rob and Levi both get it right. And
oh yeah, there's always stuff I miss, and I feel like I'm really tuned into a lot of that. But yeah, you do a good roundup there.
Thanks. You can talk to Steve over there. He does it.
Good job, Steve.
Nice work, Steve. Also, you should just join us every third Wednesday for the Lightroom Hangout.
We're
ready.
It'll be the fourth Thursday this month.
Fourth Thursday this month.
But we had this one, which is Wednesday, third Wednesday, isn't it?
Yes, fourth. Yeah, that's Wednesday. It'll be next week.
Typically the third Wednesday, which is this week. But our official real one is actually next week because it accommodated Mr. Dewis's schedule better. So we're just accommodating people.
Yeah. And next week we'll be talking about local adjustments, primarily in Lightroom, but also in other stuff like Photoshop and maybe some plugins. We'll see where we go.
We'll see.
I love local adjustments. They're fun. I'm excited. I'm fired up.
Woo! if there are no other questions, should we say farewell until next week?
Yes. Gerard, where can we find you?
You can find me at Mosaic Archive on Twitter. You can also find me. That's where I put most of our Lightroom stuff. You can find me personally at Gerard_Murphy3 on Twitter, and or email me at gerard@mosaicarchive.com. I'm pretty reachable.
Thanks, Gerard. And Rob.
What about you, Levi?
Yeah,
oh, well, me. You can always find Rob and I over at photofocus.com.
Yeah.
And also on Twitter and Facebook, and I'm trying to get back into Google+. And then you can also join me for the Out of Chicago conference in Chicago next month, the 27th and 28th of June in Chicago.
Chicago, great city. One of my favorite cities to visit.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast. So I'll be teaching Lightroom classes, but we're also doing all these photo walks. There's just some really talented teachers coming, and then a whole bunch of terrific folks. And it's cheap too. It's a I don't know how Chris has put this together for so cheap, but head over to outofchicago.com and join me in Chicago next month. It's going to be really a fun time.
And June in Chicago should be just beautiful. Just
pretty
really
awesome.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And Rob.
Well, the funnest place to find me is I started doing these landscape workshops a couple years ago, and this is our third year. The digital photo workshops. We'll be going out to Tetons and Yosemite and Moab, and we do some Lightroom in the field. You get to take pictures. We have a blast. So go over there and come on with me.
Thanks.
All right. See you all next week.
See you next week.
All right.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Bye.